Good morning to all. This is a case of PO. Let me go through the slides. 46 years male presented elsewhere 20 days back with fever and loss of appetite and mild unproductive cough. He was treated there. At that time, the investigations showed total count a bit high with neutrophilia. Platelet was normal, CRP was raised, urea normal, creatinine is also normal, LFT unremarkable, and chest X-ray showed unremarkable except opacity suggestive of non-specific infective changes. In USG, there was increased hepatomegaly and grade 2 fatty liver. He was non-alcoholic, smoker, others were unremarkable. Initially, where he was treated, the temperature was dropped after initiation of treatment with levofloxacin, 750 milligram once daily, and serial total count showing improvement. It was after the initiation, it was 14900, then it was 11750, 10300, and 8700. But after day 7 of treatment, temperature again started rising. Initially, the temperature was more than 102, later went down to 98.4, then 99.6, and again 99.6 to 100.2. This was his febrile status. SGPT was raised, SGOTO was also raised, alkaline phosphate was normal, gamma GT was normal, albumin decreased, globulins borderline raised, urea 49, creatinine is marginally raised, CRP it was 23, then 18.6, 11.3 and 10.7. But as the patient was febrile, that's why he was also added with linezolid from another consultant and temperature started decreasing. But after 2 days of this in management, the patient started increased cough with scanty expectoration. Patient was received at that point at our end. Interestingly, his glycemic control was not adequate. Past history of COVID-19 requiring treatment with OCS was there. Oral corticosteroids detected hyperglycemia, but after recovering from COVID, not follow up what is the usual practice. During admission, CBG is this. He was treated with regular insulin. So what we tried to do, the control of hyperglycemia with basal bolus and some further investigations which could help us to reach the diagnosis. Initial chest X-ray was re-evaluated and repeated investigations showed sputum, TrueNAT, MTB detected, and rifampicin resistance was indeterminate. Imaging was done. This was his X-ray. There was some opacities with some microcavities. CT scan showed these cavities as well as some fibrosis and consolidation here. There was also coughing in the bronchodavascular areas. So what are the learning points in this case to us? That is evaluation of a case of fever in our country. Always think of tuberculosis, particularly in post-COVID scenario, as well as in diabetics or any kind of immunocompromised. Empirical choice of antibiotics in any case of fever. The patient started with levofloxacin, then added linezolid, which both are antimycobacterial. So initially some response was there, but fever came back. Post-COVID syndrome and its impact on metabolic disarray, control of hyperglycemia, how much this is important is all cases, choice of investigations, and something more to add, that contact of this patient just has come to us with hemoptysis and investigations were conducted, and just see, this is the contact of the patient. So he is also having consolidation, There are some hemangiomas over liver, that is isolated findings. And this is not of the case, but his contact. He is also, this is in our country, and he is the contact sputum positive is acid B3 plus. This is just done on 13th, and TrueNet is, fortunately, TrueNet is rifampicin resistance not detected. So here I am stopping my presentation now.
So,
but just to remember one thing, for in our country, in diabetic patient, particularly after the scenario of COVID, we must be rational, because there are all textbooks, particularly the Europeans or Americans, they start OPD basis. Fluoroquinolones is a good choice for them for treating CAP or suspicions of CAP. In our cases, in our country, we must do judgment to exclude tuberculosis and go for, particularly in diabetics.
Say, sir, it's a good case. Actually, when patient have a fever, in initial part only the X-ray chest would have been done. That is number one.
That was done.
And number two, the empirical choice of antibiotics, quinolone, particularly levofloxacin and linezolid, should not be done without any evidence, because both of them are second-line drugs.
Yes.
So starting the patients who is probably maybe turn out to be tuberculosis in later, if we think so, one should not be tempted to start such antibiotics, because it is going to increase the drug resistance tuberculosis.
Yes. That was my point. And which is very much in practice in...
The thing is, patient should have undergone these other CT scan, CT abdomen much earlier.
But CT scan was not done. Basically, perhaps the mindset was that it is a case of non-tuberculous CAP. So it was treated as community-acquired pneumonia. Levofloxacin was given. He was also given clarithromycin in that where he was initially treated. But later, another consultant came in picture. He added linezolid because again the patient started fever and developed some cough. But when we received the case, then we started investigations to exclude tuberculosis. Initial chest X-ray report was non-specific opicities. That misled the diagnosis.
Because non-specific should be evaluated with CT.
Exactly.
CT scan.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Sputum was done, but initial sputum was negative. There was no TrueNet was done. There was no gene expert was done. That was the mistake.
Induced sputum is more important.
Yes,
because
yes,
when you have some lesions on X-ray, if you are not able to do the CT, then at least get the induced sputum.
Yes.
That increase the yield of AFB.
Yes.
Thank you, faculties. We would like to
Thank you.
do this session.
Thank you very much, madam. Big round of applause for all the...
I request all our faculties and the clinical presenters to please proceed to the faculty lounge, and the results will be announced in the inauguration session. We'll proceed to the next session, that is theme talks, and I would like to invite our chairpersons, Dr. Parag Rana, sir please, Dr. Vipul Chawra, and Dr. Arvind. Our first topic is barriers to engagement in collaborative care in type 2 diabetes in Indian scenario. I would request our speaker, Dr. Ripun Borpuzari, to please proceed to the stage. And our chairpersons, could you please introduce our speaker?
So we are having first talk on the barriers to the engagement in the collaborative care in type 2 diabetes mellitus Indian scenario. For this, we have speaker Dr. Ripun Borpuzari. I would request him to deliver his talk. Sir, please.
Thank you, respected chairperson, astute audience. I was a little surprised when Dr. Patni rang up to me and let me know that the subject of my topic will be like this. I was surprised because I didn't have an idea how to start. I don't find anything in the literature. It's practically a very troublesome factor for me. But anyway, I thought somehow perhaps Dr. Patni knew that I served as a joint director in Assam Health Service for more than 5 years. And probably that was the reason this subject was given to me. Anyhow, I'll try to justify the talk given to me with my own knowledge and experience. So my preamble, sir, as per ICMR, India published in 2023, the prevalence is around 101 million of type 2 diabetes in India. 7 lakhs people died in 2020 due to diabetes in India, due to various comorbidities and complications. 48% of all deaths due to diabetes occurred before the age of 70. That's a global scenario, probably the same in India too. The average A1C throughout India since 2015 is almost around 8, more than 8 or 8.5. A 2023 statistic says that more than 50% of people with diabetes remain undetected. So that, in fact, depicts the whole scenario. And all these are in the rise despite the 40 new treatment options available or approved since last 20 years. So diabetes, both type 1 and type 2, are on the rise. So the complications and death in Indian subcontinent with no sign of regression. So where is the fault? Where are the faults and drawbacks? Maybe in the healthcare system, maybe fault at the healthcare physician level, maybe at the patient level, and maybe at the vigilance and monitoring of the gov sector. So if you look at the health scenario, planning everywhere there may be a defect or drawback. Planning, execution, infrastructure development, funding and supply, suboptimal staff and facilities, poor follow-ups, and HCP level ability and attitude to collaborate, background knowledge and training to treat, work stage, suboptimal staff, poor salary with respect to the gov sector, time constraint. At the patient level, indifferent attitude, most of the time we come about this factor, and non-adherence, lack of understanding, self and social prejudice, fear of hypos, and reluctant to use insulin even when prescribed. Poor lifestyle. And the vigilance and monitoring, you've got several factors: found utilization, no monitoring, drug purchase. Drug purchase, when I was a joint director in my district of Shivsagar in Assam, in one sub-center, I found plenty of empagliflozin was supplied to the center, but there is not a single metformin tablet available. See the scenario. Unnecessary drugs were supplied in random, but not the necessary drugs. That is the scenario, I think, happening all over the India. So speed of progress in any program, monitoring is poor, logistics supply, human resource appointment, pile the files for want of approval. That is another one factor. So there are multiple innumerable barriers to collaborative treatment, and all these factors combined together leading to failure to disease control and progression, not only in diabetes, in any non-communicable diseases. So what is collaborative care? What is in fact the patient-centered collaborative care? There may be collaboration with the patient and the physician, collaboration of the physician with the person is detached to take care of the patient, and within the team. So there may be another factors. You need to collaborate with the villagers, village head, especially the teachers, the NGOs and social workers, and you need to develop at the government level, private, public partnership. So in my idea, collaborative care means establishing a continued periodic communication between the patient and the healthcare professional, creating a bondage of faith and understanding, finding the way to adopt the best care to be rendered in an individual basis, maintaining a periodic review with support staff, the health educator, the nutritionist, the staff, the podiatrist, everyone counts. Maintaining an electronic medical record or registry is essential with periodic analysis. So, as per ADA comments, that a successful medical evaluation depends on the beneficial interactions between the person and the diabetes and the care team. So this is the collaborative care. On the left, you need to have the trained sisters, health educator, podiatrists, pharmacists, behavioral therapists, everything, social workers, everything you need to collaborate well. This is the team concept in diabetes. So as per ADA 2024, the patient-centered collaborative care means that the people with diabetes can benefit from coordinated interprofessional team that may include, and is not limited to, diabetic care education specialists, primary care and subspecialty clinicians, nurses, registered dietitian, exercise specialists, pharmacists, dentists, even a patient come with chronic odontitis may turn out to be a diabetic patient. So behavioral therapists, etc., etc. So that is the chronic care model being recommended by ADA 24. You see the all factors: self-management support, delivery design, decision support, clinician information system, and a community level, that's a gov sector, you need to have the resources and facilities. So that will lead to a preferred proactive diabetic care team, and that will improve the patient scenario to be the informed, activated patient and overall control. So this is the 6th point narrated by ADA. And this particular chronic care model was evaluated in China in 2016 with a real-world evidence of more than 53,000 patients without any complication. This was a double-blind prospective cohort being followed up for 4.5 years. And the cohort was recruited from 2009 to 2011 on equal groups of patients, one side on usual care and versus the chronic care model, the RAM-DM study. And the result was exceptionally good. You can see the cardiovascular risk reduction was in the tune of 56.6%, microvascular disease by 12%, all-cause mortality by 66%, emergency OPD admission by 41%, and hospitalization by 55.8%. Now, what is more important for all of us, the patient with very low cardiovascular risk, they benefited most in the tune of reduction of cardiovascular disease by 60% and mortality by 83%. But the question is that the same model, can you apply in Indian scenario? That is the question now. The fact is that we are yet to see the horizon. In 2017, diabetes alone took away up to 25% share of the average household income, about $31 billion US. 2015 study revealed that 29% of the urban people, the urban diabetic, and around 7.5% of the village diabetic, they do not take any sort of anti-diabetic medication. A study from West India reported that the only 9.1% of the cohort had good awareness regarding his disease. Poor adherence to medication leading to higher rates of both cardiovascular and chronic kidney disease. And more worrisome is the fact that the doctors have suboptimal knowledge how to treat a patient with diabetes. That is the scenario now. When you look at the National Program for Cancer, Diabetes, Cardiovascular Disease and Stroke that was launched in 2011-10, yet to function at full swing. Another program, the 10 Commandments of National Diabetic Eradication Program, you can see the whole 10 Commandments, yet to be implemented properly and propagated. India presently 5th and is expected to be 3rd economic power in 2027 with nominal GDP, yet we have the poor adherence to medication. Poor doctor-patient ratio in Assam, it is 1 in 1,453. When I was joint director, it was 1 in 1750 in 2019, and if I exclude all those Ayurvedic doctors, it will come about 1 in 2000. So that is very worrisome factor. Another important factor is Ayurvedic doctors are now permitted to treat diabetic patient with no pharmacovigilance. They are being allowed to practice allopathy with poor referral. They do not refer the patient to a medicine specialist or physician with a diabetic degree. So scarcity of the trained diabetic education and trained nurses, even we are, the doctors are now out of criticism for lack of proactive attitude and thirst for knowledge. We do not follow the algorithm how to use the OADs and how to initiate and escalate the insulin doses. So the first message of this particular topic is learn, update yourself, and propagate your knowledge to your juniors, to your staff. So that is perhaps the aim. Every diabetic people rendering diabetic treatment should know to update their own knowledge. The SCP must remember the goal of communication between healthcare professional and the PWD is to establish a collaborative relationship and to address the self-management barriers without blaming him, her, for non-compliance and non-adherence. Many a times we used to blame the patient. He is not coming to me regularly. We used to scold the patient also. But that's not a factor. The way we educate the patient is very important. When to come, how to adjust your doses, and how to monitor your blood sugar reading. So this is the diabetic care in India, very recent, by Dixit and all. You see the doctors in India, 30.7% of the PWD were not treated by qualified doctors like MBBS, trained in diabetology or physician and endocrinologist. 41.5% received care from MD or DNB in medicine, and only 19.3% were taken up care by an endospecialist. The patient level, 48 patients had their A1C tested at diagnosis. Only 1.5 patients completed their investigation profile. 15.8% checked for retinopathy. A total of 40.2%, they visit the doctor 3-monthly interval, 26.6 6-monthly, and 24.3 visited annually. Only 8.9% of the patient visited monthly. So assuming that 10% of all the specialists we have in India amounting to 30.7 lakhs on different capacities, if we take into account that the 10% are practicing diabetologists and you look at the patient-doctor scenario, it is a need of the time to educate more doctors. Maybe he's a diabetic doctor, but should be specially trained in diabetology. So that is the, that should be the aim. And another, what is SDC? This is my own experience, single doctor clinic. The real scenario in my state, a few diabetologists practice private hospital rendering diabetic care. A few entrepreneurs are lucky to have established own center with or without beds and labs and good support staff. But majority of the physicians and diabetics, they run their single doctor clinics without diabetic support staff in every citizen town. And that's a reality, I think. So the problems, we have the time constraint, huge patient load, we do not maintain the registry, cannot subject our patient to go for nutritionist, health educator, because that consumes much more time and the money from the patient. Follow up the patient over phone is a missed appointment, is not a regular practice. Convincing education before initiation of insulin is a troublesome affair for all doctors. Lack of quick lab facilities, poor updating, and the therapeutic inertia, all you know. So this is what is the solution. This is a very recent strategy given by Ashok Das and Bangshi Shabu. Healthcare models appropriate for Indian scenarios should be developed. Private-public partnership is the need of the hour. And the required health facilities in India is 74,150. We do have less than 50% of the requirement now. So recommending authorities like ICMR, RCD should advise Government of India for suitable diabetic care model. And this is the model. I took the permission from Dr. Bangshi Sabu to give it here. These are the barriers. and this is the suggested model to Government of India, I think. So this is the solution. If we need to develop a specific model suitable for Indian scenario, we can somehow combat this situation. So ladies and gentlemen, the doctor, the physician treating diabetes should be a sprinter, fastest sprinter. He should lead the relay team first as an anchor and drag all his supporters. This should be a crusade against diabetes in India. So it's not about working harder, it is about working better, and thank you all for patient sharing. Thank you. I don't have a specific message, take-away message. Thank you so much. Any comment, please? Thank you, sir.
We would like to invite our next speaker, Dr. Brij Mohan.
In aging population, Dr. Bridgeborn is, I think he has got a huge CV. He is an MD Medicine, HICP, HICM, Fellow Diabetes India. He is a graduate from 1979 and MD Medicine in 1983. And he is associated with various organizations. One of his popular association is Kanpur Diabetic Association, which he does annual conference, which is well attended from the national faculties. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Arvinda, a hero, as I call you. And kudos to Dr. Patni for giving topic. You rightly said, sir, every topic has got a meaning. Mine is about metabolic challenges in aging population, and there are many challenges. Age itself, older age, is a problem. We treat all elderly people differently for different diseases. How do we define aging? It is an ongoing, irreversible physiological process. There is deterioration of tissue and cellular function after a certain age. Till few years, it keeps on increasing. The day we are born, actually the age starts then, and there is deterioration of tissue and cellular function, and that leads to increased susceptibility to various age-related diseases. That includes metabolic disorder, which I am going to dwell with. How do we define aging? World Health Organization says that aged more than 60 years are elderly. 1980, United Nations recommended 60 years as the age of transition for elderly, and that has been categorized as follows: young, old, 60 to 75 years, we are young. Advanced old, more than 75 years. There are very few people who live till that age. 75 to 85 years is advanced old. And very advanced old is more than 85 years. This comes from United Nations. What are the physiological effects of aging? Aging leads to oxidative stress, and there is chronic inflammation. These three, aging itself, oxidative stress, and chronic inflammation, these three lead to various system involvements. There is CV system affected, respiratory system, endocrine system, and skeletal system is affected, and that leads to sarcopenia. These interactions between various processes lead to multi-system dysfunction and frailty, which is hallmark of aging process. Coming to frailty with aging, these are the risk factors. I will not go into the details. Chronic inflammation leads to various changes in muscles, endocrine system, hematocrit system, and heart. These are the signs, and then that leads to falls, disability, dependency, surgery risk, and death. Various metabolic diseases occurring with age. These are because of physiological changes that happen. These are the environmental risk factors, medicines, obesity, and pollution. There are behavioral risk factors like reduced intake of plant-based ingredients. This is quite important. When we were students, we were told that those who take vegetarian proteins, that is a second grade protein. Now the things have moved entirely in the opposite direction. Processed meat and trans fat, alcohol intake, smoking, physical inactivity, that is a big issue in elderly population, and sleep apnea, which commonly occurs with gain of weight. These changes in metabolism lead to accelerated cellular and molecular aging, and there is metabolic dysregulation occurring, leading to different problems. These are the factors for accelerated aging. जो लोग कहते हैं ना जल्दी बूढ़ा हो गया, this is inflammation. The inflammation because of aging, oxidative stress, telomere shortening, DNA damaging, cellular senescence, reduced autophagy, and immunosenescence. These are various age-related diseases: heart failure, atherosclerosis, and hypertension, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease occurring in aged population, Parkinson's disease and Alzheimer's disease in aging population, cataract and age-related macular degeneration, presbycusis, the reduced hearing in the aging population. अक्सर लोग कान की मशीन लगा के रखते हैं. That is because of presbycusis. Benign prostatic hyperplasia, osteoarthritis, type 2 diabetes is more common in aged population, and NAFLD is now named as MAFLD is also quite common. What are the metabolic challenges in aging population? These are reduced testosterone level. Although Dr. Deepak Juvani says there is no reduction in testosterone, that then there is adrenopause, growth hormone may be reduced, somatopause, and these are the effects: reduced testosterone, reduced DHEA, and reduced growth hormone. One of our Prime Minister used to take growth hormone in the elderly age group, the past Prime Minister. Age-related disease, these are the possible mechanisms: systemic level effect, cellular level, and molecular level effect, nutritional dysregulation, cellular senescence at cellular level, stem cell exhaustion, altered intercellular communication in elderly population, and then there can be molecular level effect like genomic instability, telomere shortening, epigenetic alteration, loss of proteostasis, compromised autophagy, and mitochondrial dysfunction. These are some of the chronic diseases which are associated with aging: hypertension, higher cholesterol, obesity, arthritis, ischemic or coronary heart disease, diabetes, chronic kidney disease, heart failure, depression, and Alzheimer, and dementia ultimately. I will not go into detail of everything. Hypertension, diabetes, dyslipidemia, obesity. Many times we don't do anything for dyslipidemia in elderly population because statins are said not to be started after 75 years of age. Obesity, arthritis, coronary heart disease is quite common in elderly population. Stroke is very common, ischemic stroke. Chronic kidney disease. Age is one of the factors for determining EGFR. Alzheimer's disease and dementia. Neurodegenerative disease like Parkinson's disease is more common in elderly population. Psychological problems, quite common. Depression because of various social factors, that is quite common. Cancers, there are certain cancers which are more common in elderly population. Age-related macular degeneration, again not talked about, but is quite common in elderly population. Now, prevention of aging. I'm not purposely skipping so many things. What about prevention of aging? Healthy aging is focus for WHO by 2030. Aim of development of targeted public health intervention to combat various rising prevalences of metabolic diseases in elderly and promoting healthy aging. Public health strategies include building strong social support, that is very, very important. Lifestyle awareness is again very important. Health education of older adults to prevent various metabolic diseases. Community work, workplace wellness program, recreational facilities are again very important, and maintaining healthy weight in elderly population. There should be a margin of weight, not as it comes in younger age. There should be a holistic approach like behavior changes, supportive environment for healthier future with lower metabolic disease rates, improved well-being in aging population. That includes, if you go for healthy aging, you must go for physical activity. Mental health becomes very, very important. Social engagement, building a strong social network, maybe a familial network, that is good. Our Indian tradition is living with the joint family. Good nutrition, that includes plant-based. And there are enough evidences. Whatever I am speaking is on the basis of scientific evidence. And there is cognitive activity. Learning is very important. And at the end, fall prevention should be done in aging population. Aging and its management, that includes lifestyle intervention, exercise, dietary intervention, and weight loss when needed. Modulating gut microbiota by various probiotics, prebiotics. Pharmacological intervention have been studied and are of interest to majority of us. There are senolytics, xenomorphics, anti-inflammatory agents. These are not NSAIDs, antioxidants, and others. But of interest are metformin. But of interest are curcumin and ginkgo biloba extract, for which I could find some references in scientific literature. SGLT2 inhibitors recently have been demonstrated to reduce aging, and GLP-1 receptor agonist that includes liraglutide and semaglutide have been found to have anti-aging effect. If you want longevity with healthy aging, go for cell replacement therapy, cell transplantation, gene therapy, immunotherapy, and cardiac regeneration. These are the very recent literature, May 2024. SGLT2 inhibitors to target healthy kidneys with aging. SGLT2 inhibitor, and one of the authors is Vijay Vishwanathan, our own SGLT2 inhibitor. This is very recent, June or maybe May of 2024. SGLT2 inhibitors suppress endoplasmic reticulum stress and oxidative stress in diabetic nephropathy. These are some of the mechanisms of how SGLT2 inhibitor act in reducing aging. So at the end, you can't stop getting older because this is a physiological process, but you don't have to get older. Thank you very much. If there are any questions, I'll be very happy to answer.
I think that was a wonderful session, sir. You covered all the topics wonderfully. Very illustrative talk. If you have questions, we can take it. Otherwise, we'll close the session. Sir.
Way back, I was reading a book written by Deepak Chopra. He has written in his book that since we are born until we die, everything is ever changing in our body. The water which we were born is not there. Salts, they are being replaced. Calcium is being replaced. Iron is being replaced. Cells are being replaced. Then why do we age? And there is a chronological age and biological age. So we age because of, you have rightly said, because of oxidative stress and so many other factors which lead to defect in the genes and telomeres, which make us, replacement of cell is not that fast. So my comment is that कम खाओ, गम मत खाओ, चलायमान रहो और ऊपरी माले को कुछ टास्क देते रहो चैलेंजिंग.
Very well said.
जैसे आपको टास्क दिया गया इतना डिफिकल्ट टॉपिक. That will keep you beyond aging.
That is very, very important. Whatever SGLT2 inhibitor do, whatever you are taking calories, you are being deprived of that. You are passing it in urine. That should be, and prevention of fall and use of gray matter is very important, and that is how we can have healthy aging. Aging is bound to occur. The day we are born, we know that we are going to die. Even अगर भगवान राम ने और भगवान कृष्ण ने भी अवतार लिया था तो उनको भी जाना पड़ा था. We need to go, but don't age before the age.
Thank you, sir. So we have next speaker, Dr. Jayant Panda. The topic is health policy initiatives aimed at improving metabolic outcomes.
I'm overwhelmed in the invitation of DRWA, this 11th event, where I have been there from the beginning, and I thank Dr. Patni, Dr. Shupratik and the whole team, Partho and the whole team. This topic is very important in the sense, we realize we don't have adequate planning for our metabolic diseases. All of you will agree to me, in our undergraduate days, we have not been focused on our metabolic issues. So whatever metabolic disease exposure we have got it from our own side, own interest, and shame with the metabolic policy in the health policy of the government, prevention or the treatment of these diseases are never covered. So it's a very well thought of theme lecturer, and I thank Dr. Patni and the whole team of 11 DRWA for the opportunity. The metabolic disorders and their significance when we talk, 4 diseases prominently come to our own consideration. Obviously, diabetes is 1, obesity is 2, dyslipidemia is 3, and hypertension is 4. And we have to not only think of the health policies, we have to think of the economic burdens as well, and the comprehensive health policies are needed to address these issues. So the definition already I have told, and the diseases I have told. I'll tell you the prevalence in statistics in the global level, national level, and the trends. And if you see the diabetes, with more than 500 million people globally and more than 101 million people in the national data, the trend is increasing. The obesity, more than 650 million people globally, almost 1/3 of the people in the nation, it is half of the population of the world will be either overweight or obese. In dyslipidemia, approximately 40% of the global population are affected, and in the country also 30 to 40% people are affected. And if you go to the trend, it's increasing. In hypertension, 1.13 billion people worldwide are hypertensive. And so many world hypertension congress are taking place. And you know, in our ICMR INDIAB data, almost 1/3 of the country population are hypertensive or pre-hypertensive, and the trend is increasing. Here, in the statistics, the genetic factors come into consideration, and almost all non-communicable diseases are the metabolic diseases, starting from the diabetes, obesity, dyslipidemia, hypertension, are having a link with the genetics. But lifestyle factors are predominant, should it be diet, physical activity, smoking, alcohol consumption, or the sleep. They come into consideration, precipitating the illness. The environmental factors like access to healthy food, the built environment, the socio-economic status, the work environment, pollution and toxin, all are the factors again modulate the issues in the prevalence and the statistics. So I'll tell you the impact, long-term, short-term, and the quality of life of these 4 conditions. You know about the chronic complications of diabetes in the long term, acute complications of diabetes in the short term, and quality of life becoming miserable. Why diabetes? In obesity, dyslipidemia, hypertension, and all included metabolic challenge in the long term, short term, and quality of life makes the person's existence very difficult. So there is a need of a new health policy where the metabolic issues need to be emphasized upon. The emergence of a robust healthcare industry estimated to be growing at double digit. The growing incidence of catastrophic expenditure, rising economic growth, enabling enhanced fiscal capacity, and health priorities are changing. So we'll see how to improve the metabolic health outcomes, and we'll see how to enhance the prevention strategies, improve early detection and screening, strengthen management and treatment protocols, promoting health lifestyle and environments, and foster research and innovation in the metabolic health. So let us touch upon how we should go about in our policy. Perhaps this topic is given to me because in my state I am one of the stakeholder of the health policy decision, and there this preparation of the slides has made me more wise regarding my approach to the policies of a government, and I think the issues of professionalism, integrity and ethics, equity, affordability, universality, patient-centered and quality care, the accountability, inclusive partnerships, pluralism, decentralization, dynamism and adaptiveness come into picture when you think of a health policy focusing the metabolic challenges. So the professionalism, integrity and ethics, it's the commitment to the highest standards and the entire system of healthcare delivery in the country supported by a credible, transparent and responsible regulatory environment. In equity, it would mean the affirmative action to reach the poorest, and it would mean minimizing disparity on the account of gender, poverty, caste, disability and other form of social exclusion and the geographic barriers. It would imply greater investments and financial protection for the poor who suffer the largest burden of the disease. It has to be affordable, the cost of care increases, and the distinct form of equity requires emphasis. The catastrophic household healthcare expenditures we have to understand, and in India it's the patient at the end of the day who pays for his own treatment. By telling universality, I mean the prevention of exclusions on social economic grounds of current health status. In this backdrop, systems and services are envisaged to be designed to cater to the entire population, including special groups. The patient-centered and the quality of care, the gender-sensitive, effective, safe and convenient healthcare services to be provided with dignity and the confidentiality. There is need to evolve and disseminate standards and guidelines for all levels of facilities and a system to ensure that the quality of healthcare is not compromised. Accountability is must, and if you are not accountable, the person cannot ensure the challenges related to the healthcare, the financial performance, the transparency in decision making, the elimination of corruption, and both in public and private life are important. The inclusive partnership, the multi-stakeholder approach, and the participation of all non-health ministries and communities. This approach would include the partnership with academic institutions, not-for-the-profit agencies, and healthcare industry as well. Pluralism means the patients who choose and when appropriate would have access to Ayush care providers based on the documented and the validated local home and the community-based practices. The systems inter alia would also have the government support and research and supervision to develop and enrich their contribution to meeting the national health goals and objectives through integrative practices. We tell it a concept of holistic health, where not only one science exists, it's all sciences that come together. In the decentralization of the decision making to a level as it consistent with the practical consideration and institutional capacity, the community participation in health planning process to be promoted side by side. Dynamism and adaptiveness till constantly improving the dynamic organization of the healthcare based on the new knowledge and the evidence, with learning from the communities and from national and international knowledge partners designed. Let us see the economic impact of the health. If today the budget of a country is mostly affected by some factor, is the health care of the people or the citizens. The direct cost of the treatment and the management, the indirect cost of the productivity, disability and the early mortality, and the social burden of economic strains on healthcare system and the society, they come into picture. Very quickly I'll take you through some suggestions on healthcare policy. I'm sure many of you will be guiding your governments, your ministers regarding the healthcare decisions, because it's a people's responsibility of the government which is taken, and this approach will give you a practical approach to keep your people healthy. The healthcare gaps, the lack of integrated care and the coordinated efforts, assess issues, limited access to the healthcare services and the medications, awareness, the insufficient public and healthcare provider awareness, and policy limitations include existing policies not comprehensive or the effectively implemented. These are the current challenges, and we'll see at the end what happens the challenge to implement this. Need for policy intervention, I have already told you why current measures are inadequate, what the new policy aim to achieve, the potential health, economic and the social benefits are to be thought of. The policy framework should include key elements of the proposed policy, holistic and the multi-sectoral approach, the stakeholder roles like government, healthcare providers, NGOs, private sector and the community involvement. The stakeholder involvement includes the government for policy development, funding and the regulation, healthcare providers for the implementation and the patient education, patient and public issues for the engagement and the adherence to the preventive measures, private sector for the partnership and the innovation, and NGOs for advocacy and the support services. The strategic goals include the long-term goals like reducing prevalence and the impact of the metabolic disorders, short-term goals like improving awareness, screening and the management. The metrics of success include the measurable indicators to track the progress. The preventive measures include the public awareness campaigns, educating the public about the risk factors and healthy behaviors. The school programs include incorporating nutrition, the physical activity education, and the workplace wellness program should include encouraging healthy habits among employees. The community initiatives include promoting the local activities and the support groups. The early detection and screening I'll take you through in our genetics, in our precision medicine, in our technology, in our artificial intelligence. The importance is the benefit of detecting metabolic disorders early. Proposed programs include the regular screening in the primary care, community centers and the schools, tools and the methods, the blood tests, the BMI measurement and the risk assessment. So from the beginning of the screen and the guide people to intervene. The management and treatment includes the enhanced protocols, the standardized treatment guidelines, access to care like ensuring availability of the medication and healthcare services, the patient support, counseling and the support groups, and the integrated care, which is coordinated care between the specialists, primary care providers and other healthcare professionals.